The match notification popped up while I was getting my roots touched up at the Newberry Street salon. Foil in my hair, coffee in hand, pretending I wasn't scrolling for validation. Bradley, 38, financial advisor, looking for something serious. Harvard Business School, Beacon Hill address. The kind of man I'd been searching for since I decided 6 months ago that my party days were over. I swiped through his photos with wet hair dripping peroxide. Tasteful shots. Him at a charity gala, sailing off the Cape. Family barbecue in what looked like Wellesley. No shirtless gym selfies, no fish pics, no red Solo cups. A grown-up. Finally. Someone special? My colorist Anthony peered over my shoulder. Maybe, I said, already crafting my opening message. Something clever but not trying too hard. Something that said I was relationship material now. Bradley responded within an hour. We texted throughout my blowout, made plans for dinner at Mistral that Friday. I left the salon feeling like my life was finally falling into place. 33 years old, successful marketing director, ready to settle down with the right man. The timing was perfect. Except it wasn't. Not for Bradley. Not for the dozen men who came after him. Not for any of the relationship-minded guys I pursued once I decided my wild years were behind me. But I need to back up. You need to understand who I was before to understand why who I am now doesn't seem to matter. From 22 to 32, I lived like Boston was my personal playground. Fresh out of Northeastern with a communications degree and an entry-level job at a tech startup, I had zero interest in anything serious. Why would I? The city was full of possibilities. Grad students, young professionals, tourists, conference attendees. Tinder had just launched. Then Bumble, then Hinge. The apps made it so easy, like ordering takeout, but for sex. You're wasting your 20s if you tie yourself down, my roommate Carly used to say. We'd pregame in our Alston apartment, hit the bars on Lansdowne, bring home whoever caught our eye. Sometimes I knew their last names. Usually I didn't care. I kept a list in my phone. Not names, that would be impossible to track. Just numbers. A tally. By 25, I'd hit 30. By 28, 70. By 30, I'd stopped counting precisely, but it was over 100. Maybe 120, maybe more. The thing is, I wasn't looking for love. I was looking for fun, for stories, for the rush of someone new wanting me. Marketing guys from the seaport, medical residents from Mass General, tourists from the hotels downtown, that visiting professor from MIT, the entire starting lineup of a semi-pro hockey team. Not all at once, but over one particularly memorable summer. My friends were getting married, having babies, moving to the suburbs. I was having threesomes, flying to Miami for yacht parties, dating married men who promised they were leaving their wives but never did. I felt sophisticated, empowered, like I was living the Sex and the City life while everyone else was playing house. "Don't you want something real?" my sister Lauren asked at our wedding. I was 31, matron of honor, and had hooked up with one of the groomsmen in the coat check during cocktail hour. "This is real," I'd said, gesturing to the reception full of tired-looking couples. Real boring, but something shifted after that wedding. Maybe it was watching Lauren's face when her husband saw her in her dress. Maybe it was realizing I was the only single person at my table. Maybe it was the groomsman asking me not to text him because his girlfriend would be picking him up soon. I started noticing things. How quiet my apartment was on Sunday mornings. How I ate most meals standing over the sink. How my Instagram was full of party pics and none of those casual, comfortable couple shots. How I'd never had someone bring me soup when I was sick or remember how I took my coffee. The epiphany hit during another hookup. I was with some guy from Tinder. Patrick? Paul? His name didn't even matter. That was the point. But right in the middle of it, I felt nothing. Not bad, not good, just empty, like someone had switched off the sound on my own life. Like I was watching myself from outside my body, going through the motions I'd perfected over a decade. He was just another number, another warm body, and I was just a convenience for him. He must have felt me go cold. He stopped. You okay? He'd asked, his voice annoyed, not concerned. He just wanted to finish. The question broke me. I wasn't okay. I hadn't been okay for a long time. I started crying. Not pretty tears, but ugly, gulping sobs. I need you to leave, I'd said, pulling the sheet around me. He actually rolled his eyes, grabbed his jeans, and left without another word. The door slamming shut was the loudest sound I'd ever heard. That was 6 months ago. The night I decided I was done with random hookups, done with meaningless sex, done with treating my body like an amusement park anyone could visit. I wanted what my sister had, what my friends had, a partner, a future, someone who knew my middle name and my coffee order and would still be there in the morning. I threw myself into the boyfriend search with the same intensity I'd once applied to hookups. New photos, less cleavage, more cardigans. New profile text, looking for something real. Ready for Sunday farmers markets and couples cooking classes. New standards, no more one-night stands, no more married men, no more fun without a future. Bradley was my first real attempt. Our Mistral dinner started perfectly. He was handsome in that clean-cut Boston way, talked about his volunteer work with Big Brothers, mentioned wanting kids someday. We split a bottle of wine and the conversation flowed easily. So, he said over dessert, what made you decide you're ready for something serious? I'd prepared for this. I think everyone has their fun in their 20s, right? But I'm 33 now. Ready for the next chapter. Sure, but what kind of fun are we talking about? His tone was light, but his eyes weren't. Oh, dating around, figuring out what I wanted. How much dating around? The question felt like a trap. I laughed it off. Why, are you going to ask for my number? Your number? I realized my mistake immediately. That was hookup culture language. Normal people didn't refer to body counts as numbers. I just mean, I dated, like everyone. But he was already pulling back. That subtle shift men do when they're recategorizing you. From potential girlfriend to potential problem. Look, Melissa, he said, and I was too defeated to correct him about my name. You seem great, but I'm looking for someone with a bit more traditional values. Traditional values? I kept my voice steady. Because I dated in my 20s? We both know you did more than date. He signaled for the check. His smile was gone. He looked at me like I was something he'd stepped in. I'm 38. I want a wife, not someone who's been with half of Boston. My friends know you, Melissa. I should have listened to them. Half of Boston. The exaggeration stung more than the rejection. He paid, we said polite goodbyes, and I never heard from him again. But his words echoed. Been with half of Boston, like I was contaminated, like my past was visible on my skin. I tried again. Coffee with David, a pediatrician from Brookline. He asked about my longest relationship. 2 months, I admitted. His eyebrows rose. In 33 years, your longest relationship was 2 months? I was focused on my career, I lied. But he was already checking his watch, making excuses about an early surgery. Then Michael, an architect from Cambridge. We made it to date 3 before he asked why I'd never lived with anyone. Just never found the right person, I said. Or never looked, he replied. I saw your tagged photos on Instagram. Lots of Vegas trips, lots of different guys. I'd made my profile private after that, but the damage was done. Boston's professional circle was smaller than I'd realized. People talked. My reputation preceded me. You're that girl, a date actually said once. My buddy matched with you like 5 years ago. Said you were wild. That girl. Wild. Like I was a tourist attraction everyone had visited. I tried different apps, different neighborhoods, different approaches. I dated older men who might appreciate my newfound maturity, younger men who might not care about my past, men from the suburbs who might not know my reputation. Nothing worked. Maybe take a break from dating, Lauren suggested over lunch in the Back Bay. She was pregnant with her second child, glowing with that married woman contentment I'd once mocked. I don't want to take a break. I want to find someone. But you seem desperate, she said gently. Men can sense that. Desperate. Because I wanted what everyone else had. Because I'd decided I was ready for love and discovered love wasn't ready for me. The worst part was running into my past. Boston was too small for anonymity. I'd see former hookups everywhere. At Whole Foods, on the T, at networking events. Most avoided eye contact. Some smirked. A few tried to proposition me again, confused why I wasn't interested anymore. "Come on," a guy named Jake said at an alumni event. We'd hooked up multiple times in 2018. "You were so fun back then. What happened?" "I grew up," I said. "That's a shame," he replied, already scanning the room for easier prey. But the real shame was what I discovered next. Even when I found men willing to look past my history, something inside me was broken, irreparably changed. His name was Christopher. 41, divorced, understood that people had pasts. We met at a charity event at the MFA, and he didn't Google me, didn't ask about my history, didn't care about the whispers. He was new to Boston, transferred from Chicago, blissfully unaware of my reputation. "You're different from the other women I've dated here," he said on our fourth date. "More genuine." I almost laughed. If only he knew how many men had seen my genuine enthusiasm in bed. We took it slow. I was determined to do it right this time. No sex until date 6, a personal record since college. When it finally happened, I thought I'd feel something special. This was relationship sex, meaningful sex, the kind I'd been chasing. Instead, I felt nothing, not bad. Christopher was perfectly adequate, considerate even. But as he moved above me, all I could think about was how Thomas from 2019 did this one thing with his hips, how Alex from that conference was more vocal, how that bartender from Fenway, God, what was his name, had these hands that... It was like I was checking boxes on a mental spreadsheet. Was he as good as the banker? Better than the lawyer? Number. Yes. It didn't matter. He wasn't them. He was just him. And it wasn't enough. "You okay?" Christopher asked, noticing my distance. "Yeah, perfect," I lied. But I wasn't perfect. I was comparing, cataloging, running through my mental database of every man I'd been with, measuring Christopher against a highlight reel of over 100 encounters. His kisses were too soft. But wait, didn't I hate when Marcus kissed too hard? His hands were too rough. But didn't smooth hands remind me of that creepy dentist from Tinder? He lasted too long. But quick wasn't good either. Remember that disappointment with the Sox player? I couldn't turn it off. My brain had become a comparison engine, unable to experience the moment without referencing the archive. I started therapy. Dr. Martinez listened without judgment as I explained my predicament. "I feel like I'm being punished for enjoying my 20s, I said. "Men can sleep around and then settle down whenever. Why can't I?" "You can," she said. "But you can't control how others perceive your choices. So, I'm supposed to be alone forever because I had sex." "You had a lot of sex," she corrected gently. "With a lot of people. In a relatively small community, actions have consequences, even when those actions weren't wrong." She was right, of course. I'd treated Boston like my personal buffet, sampling everything without thinking about the aftermath. Now I was the woman who'd been passed around, used up, discarded. The woman you sleep with, not the woman you marry. But therapy revealed something worse, something I hadn't wanted to admit. "Tell me about your relationship with Christopher," Dr. Martinez asked during a session. "It's fine," I said. "He's everything I should want. Stable, kind, ready for commitment. But I can't stop comparing him to everyone else. When he touches me, I think about other hands. When he talks, I hear other voices. It's like my brain is broken. It's not broken, she said carefully, but it has been conditioned. You've trained yourself to seek novelty, to compare, to always look for the next experience. Forming a deep bond with one person requires focus you may have compromised. Are you saying I can't fall in love? No, she said softly. I'm saying you've made it harder, but not impossible. Healing takes focus the thrill once replaced. I left that session and cried in my car for an hour. All those years of thinking I was so empowered, so free. I hadn't been collecting experiences. I'd been destroying my ability to have the one experience that mattered. I joined a church I'd never attended, hoping to meet men with those traditional values Bradley mentioned. The congregation was welcoming until a member recognized me from my Tinder days. The whispers started immediately. I stopped going after 3 weeks. I tried meeting men through hobbies, book clubs, cooking classes, running groups. But either they were already coupled up, or they'd heard about me through the Boston Bachelor grapevine. I heard you're quite the party girl, a man at pottery class said, his wedding ring glinting as he shaped his clay. Not anymore, I said. Shame, he replied. My wife's out of town next weekend. 6 months became a year. My 34th birthday passed with champagne with girlfriends who complained about their husbands while I smiled and died inside. I watched everyone pair off, settle down, start families while I refreshed dating apps and wondered if I'd waited too long to want what they had. The loneliness was suffocating. Not just the physical loneliness, I'd had more sex than most people have in a lifetime, but the emotional emptiness. I'd never been someone's girlfriend, really. Never been introduced to parents, never been the emergency contact, never been chosen for more than a night or a weekend. Why don't you date someone who doesn't care about your past? My coworker suggested. Maybe someone in an open relationship. But I didn't want someone who didn't care. I wanted someone who cared so much that my past didn't matter. I wanted what I'd rejected for over a decade. Genuine intimacy with one person who saw me as more than a good time. Online, I found forums for women like me, women who'd embraced hookup culture only to discover that culture didn't include an exit strategy. The advice was always the same. Lie about your past, move to a new city, lower your standards. But there was one thread that haunted me. Can't bond anymore, the title read. Woman after woman describing exactly what I was experiencing. The inability to focus on one man, the constant comparisons, the feeling that no single person could ever be enough because they'd experienced too much variety. It's like a drug addiction, one woman wrote. You build up tolerance. What used to excite you becomes boring. You need more, different, better. But there is no better, just different versions of the same emptiness. I couldn't lie. Too many people knew the truth. I couldn't move. My career was in Boston, and my standards were already on the floor. I wasn't looking for Prince Charming anymore, just someone decent who wanted to build something real. But even that became impossible when Christopher found out. We'd been dating 3 months. He was starting to talk about the future, meeting his kids from his first marriage, maybe moving in together. I was trying so hard to feel what I was supposed to feel, to not compare his Sunday morning pancakes to the brunch spots various men had taken me to not think about how his ex-wife was probably the only woman he'd been with in 20 years, while I couldn't even remember all my partner's faces. Then his phone rang during dinner at his place. "Hey, Brad," he answered. "Yeah, I'm seeing someone." Monica Sullivan. Wait, what? I watched his face change as fucking Bradley from that Mistral disaster, filled him in on exactly who I was. Christopher's expression went from confusion to disgust to something worse, pity. He hung up slowly. Is it true? Is what true? Brad says you've been with over 100 men. Says everyone knows. Says you're legendary. Legendary. Like I was a tourist attraction. The freedom trail of fucking. My past is my past, I said weakly. Over 100? His voice was hollow. Monica, I've been with 8 women in my entire life, including my ex-wife. So? So when we're together, am I just number what? 103, 120? You're not a number, but I am, aren't I? Just the latest in a line so long you probably can't remember where it starts. He stood up, pacing. Jesus, when you said you dated around, I thought you meant like 20 guys, maybe 30. But over 100? Why does the number matter if I'm with you now? He laughed, but it was bitter. Because I wanted to be special to someone, not just Tuesday's appointment in a decade-long rotation. That's not fair. You know what's not fair? Letting me fall for you without telling me I'm competing with the ghosts of half of Boston. He asked me to leave. Blocked my number before I even got home. 3 months of trying to be normal, gone because Bradley fucking Thompson couldn't keep his mouth shut. A year became 18 months. I was 35 now, technically geriatric for pregnancy, watching my window for children closing while men my age dated 25-year-olds with less baggage. I ran into Bradley at a fundraiser in the seaport. He was there with his fiancée, a pretty brunette who looked about 26. Melissa, right? He said, still getting my name wrong. Monica, I corrected. This is Emma, he said, pulling his fiancée closer. We're getting married in June. Emma smiled sweetly. Brad tells me you two went on a date once. Thanks for letting him go. I might never have met him otherwise. They walked away, leaving me standing alone with my overpriced wine, wondering if Emma knew her fiancé had slept with just as many people as I had. The difference was, nobody cared about his number. Nobody judged his past. Nobody deemed him unworthy of love because he'd enjoyed his youth. I went home that night and did the math. Let's say it was 150 men over 10 years. That's 15 per year, just over 1 per month. When you broke it down like that, it didn't seem so scandalous. But nobody breaks it down. They just hear the total and picture me as some insatiable deviant instead of a young woman who bought into the sex-positive message until it was too late to take it back. My therapist says I need to forgive myself. My sister says I need to be patient. My mother, who doesn't know the full extent, says the right man won't care about my past. But they're wrong. The right men do care. They care a lot. They want someone wholesome. Someone who treated sex as sacred, someone who can offer them something that hasn't been given to 100 others first. I still swipe through apps sometimes, but my heart's not in it anymore. The men who match with me now fall into predictable categories. Players who see me as an easy lay, desperate guys who can't get anyone else, or married men looking for their former fun girl to relive glory days. The relationship-minded men, the ones I want now, they can smell my past like perfume that won't wash off. They ask careful questions, do their research, find out who I used to be. And then they decide I'm not wife material, not mother material, not the kind of woman you bring home to mom or build a future with. You made your choices, a date told me last week when I asked why he wasn't interested in a second meeting. Those choices have consequences. He was right. I chose fun over stability. I chose variety over depth. I chose the immediate gratification of being wanted by many over the long-term satisfaction of being loved by one. Now I'm 35, successful in every way except the one that suddenly matters most, and completely untouchable to the kind of man I finally want. The saddest part? I can't even regret it fully. Those years were thrilling. Flying to Vegas on private jets, dating celebrities who were in town filming, having men compete for my attention. I felt powerful, desired, free, but freedom, it turns out, comes with a price. And that price is spending the rest of my life paying for decisions I made when settling down seemed like death, and variety seemed like life. Now I understand why my married friends tried to warn me, why they said I should be pickier, why they mentioned nice guys I should meet before I laughed and said I wasn't done having fun yet. They saw what I couldn't, that there's an expiration date on being the party girl, that men who want wives aren't shopping in the clearance section. So here I am, Monica Sullivan, 35, director of marketing at a Fortune 500 company, owner of a beautiful condo in the South End, traveled to 30 countries, speaks 3 languages, volunteers at the animal shelter, makes a mean lasagna. Also, former Boston party legend, estimated body count well into triple digits, blacklisted from the decent dating pool, destined to be the cautionary tale mothers tell their daughters, and worst of all, broken inside in ways I'm only beginning to understand. I tried one more time. Paul, a teacher from Somerville, sweet, earnest, didn't care about my past because he believed in redemption. "Everyone deserves a fresh start," he said, but I couldn't give him one. When he held my hand, I thought about stronger grips. When he kissed me, I cataloged every way it wasn't as good as that investment banker who used to bite my lip just right. When we made love, and he called it that, making love, while I had to bite my tongue not to call it fucking, I ran through my greatest hits reel. The Italian photographer who whispered in 3 languages, the personal trainer with stamina for days, that politician who did things that would end his career if anyone knew, the twin brothers, separate occasions, but still, the professional athlete who bent me into positions I didn't know were possible. Paul was just Paul. Kind, devoted, simple Paul who thought missionary with the lights off was adventurous, who didn't know the things I knew, hadn't done the things I'd done, who loved me in his straightforward way while I lay there comparing him to a highlight reel he could never compete with. "I love you," he said after 6 months. I said it back. But even as the words left my mouth, I knew they were hollow. How could I love him when I couldn't stop thinking about the 100+ others? When every intimate moment was filtered through a database of comparison? I ended it the next week, told him he deserved someone who could love him properly. He cried, said I was the best thing that had happened to him, said we could work through whatever was holding me back. But what was holding me back was my own past. Every encounter had carved away a piece of my ability to bond, to focus, to find one person enough. I'd spent so long chasing the next thrill that I'd rewired my brain to never be satisfied with what was in front of me. I used to think I was winning. All those boring married women missing out while I lived my best life. Turns out they were playing the long game while I was sprinting toward a cliff I couldn't see until I'd already jumped. The numbers game. I thought I was racking up points. Instead, I was pricing myself out of the market I someday wanted to enter. By the time I was ready to settle down, my number had already unsettled everyone worth settling for. 150 men, give or take. That's my scarlet letter in a city that never forgets. And the cruelest irony? Not one of them loved me. Not one of them stayed. I collected conquests like trophies, and now I sit alone in my beautiful condo, surrounded by the evidence of a successful life that feels emptier than any stranger's bed ever did. The worst part? I can feel it when I try to connect with someone new. That broken part of me that can't stop comparing, can't stop remembering, can't stop wanting something different, something more, something else. It's like trying to watch a movie while 100 other films play simultaneously in my peripheral vision. How can I focus on one person when I've programmed myself to always be scanning for the next? My sister Lauren asked me once, after I'd broken up with Paul, "What would make you happy? What are you actually looking for?" I couldn't answer. Because what I wanted was impossible. I wanted the excitement of someone new, with the comfort of someone familiar. I wanted the thrill of the chase with the security of being chosen. I wanted to feel the way I felt during my first time, before I knew there were so many different ways to be touched, so many different types of pleasure, so many variations on the same basic act. I wanted to unknow what I knew, to unfeel what I'd felt, to turn back time and guard my ability to bond with one person like the precious resource it was. But I'd spent it all, scattered it across Boston like confetti, thinking there would always be more. Not understanding that each encounter took something away, even as it seemed to add to my experience. Now I understand why some cultures prize virginity, why religions preach monogamy, why my grandmother told me to save myself. Not because sex is dirty or wrong, but because the ability to fully give yourself to one person is finite, and I'd parceled mine out in 100+ pieces until there was nothing left to give. My phone buzzes. Another Tinder notification. I don't even look anymore. What's the point? Whether it's 151 or 152, the number that matters now is 1. And that's the one number I'll never have. I pour myself wine in my empty condo, looking out at the Boston skyline. Somewhere out there, the men I've been with are living their lives, married, single, whatever, none of them destroyed by our encounter. None of them unable to bond because of one night with me. But I'm destroyed. Not by them, but by the accumulated weight of them. By the choices I made when I thought freedom meant never choosing at all. I used to think memories made me rich, that every story was proof I'd lived. Now they feel like debts I'll never pay off. The city lights blur through my tears. Boston, my playground turned prison. Every street corner holds a memory of someone whose name I can't recall but whose touch I can't forget. Every neighborhood tells the story of another piece of my soul traded for a momentary thrill. I used to think I was winning the game. Turns out I didn't even know what game I was playing. And by the time I figured out the rules, I'd already lost everything that mattered. 150 men, 0 love stories, and one woman who learned too late that some things, once given away, can never be reclaimed. I won the numbers game, all right. I just won the wrong prize, and the bill never stops coming.